Hey, this is Bobby with Cascadia Vehicle Tints. First, I would like to welcome you to the CVT family. Next, we're going to do an install video on how to put together your new rooftop tint. A few tools that you are going to need outside of the ones that are already provided with your new rooftop tint are a drill, a hammer, and a knife. When you first receive your box from the shipper, please check it thoroughly on the outside and also open up the cardboard and check the inside for any hidden damage on your rooftop tint. Next up, you'll want to remove the 4 straps that are around the cardboard box. You'll want to cut the tape at both ends of the cardboard box, being careful the entire time not to penetrate your knife in too far, as you may cut the fabric on the tint. Next up, you'll want to remove the 4 straps on the tint. There's one on the top, one on the bottom, and then there's 2 that go around the tint. Undo those so you open up your tint into a bellow. Upon opening the bellow of your tint, you'll find your rails for the bottom of your tent. You'll find a package of spring rods for your windows and doors. And you'll also find the bolt bag that has all the parts in it you'll need to put this rooftop tent together. Now you will need to reach in and unzip the mesh windows on the doors. Inside you will find your ladder, travel cover, and you will find your annex room. Next up, you'll want to determine which position you want to open up your tent. You want to open it up from the sides, or do you want to open it up from the back? Next up, we're going to install the rails to the base of the floor. You will need to remove the black plastic pieces out of the base of the floor. I use the bolt with a washer on it to push them through and leave the bolt in it. Next up, I like to drop the nut into the extrusion, holding it with my finger and grabbing the bolt head from the inside of the tent and snugging it up, and then I drop the nut in from the top of the rail down to the next hole just to tighten it up. When you tighten these up, you'll want to just snug them up. You will not want to over tighten any of the nuts or bolts on this application. And then do the next rail on the other side. Next up, you'll find 4 self-tapping screws. Those self-tapping screws go to the end of each rail that will keep the rail firmly and tightly against the outside extrusion, so there's no flexing on the outside of your tent. You'll have 2 brackets. Those will go on the other side of the tent near the top on the outside extrusion. You'll run your 4 bolts through these. These are for your ladder brackets. Next up, you want to grab your ladder, hook it in there. You want to make sure that the washer is in between the ladder and the bracket, and then go ahead and tighten everything up from there. Next up from there, you'll want to get someone to help you to stick the rooftop tent up on top of your vehicle. Next up, you have 8 bolts, 4 brackets, 8 sliders, and 8 nuts. You'll want to determine if these are too long or too short for your application. If they are too long or too short, run down to your hardware store and get what you need. You will need 5/16 inch bolts with nylock nuts. Once you have determined the bolt length you needed for your application, grab your bolts and your sliders, your nuts and your brackets, slide them into the bottom of the rail, hook them around each crossbar on all 4 corners, and tighten them all down. Once you have done this, you will need to grab your ladder and open up your tent to determine if your length of your ladder is either A, long enough, or B, too short. If it is too long, you'll need to adjust it to the right height, normally about a 33-degree pitch. Do not make the steps level, and do not have it too far away from your vehicle. If you need a ladder extension, we do have those also, which you can order up at any time. For those tents with the overhang extension, you will find your U-shaped support bar at the top of the ladder in the base of the tent. Remove that, pull the black caps off, take your U part, put up into the overhang extension of the tent where the 3 pieces are sewn together. From there, take and attach it at the base of the tent to the bracket. Next, you will want to install your spring rods. In the base of the tent, you'll see a slot in the fabric. There, inside of that, you will find a hole in the base of the tent. You can either A, slide your spring rod into it first and then attach it to the grommet, or hook it into the grommet, slightly bending it into the base of the tent, and you'll want to make sure you hit that till it hits the back of the hole. Check out your tent, make sure everything looks good, close it all back up. What I'd like to do is I'd like to lift the top part of the tent, tucking in the fabric all the way around, lift up the bottom bow of the tent, and then tuck in the bottom part of the fabric, doing your 2 straps on the side of the tent. Slide your ladder back in. Your cover at this time will need to be slid in to the proper channel. Slide in your cover, throw your cover over the top of it, then zip up around the 3 sides, making sure that you keep the fabric out of the way the entire time that you're zipping this up. Once you have done that, throw the 2 straps over the top of the cover and tighten those down. Now you will need to tap in the 4 little black pieces that you have left into each end of the rail. Also too, just to give you a little heads up, make sure the little black pieces inside the cover where both Velcro pieces are when you zip up at the start of the zipper and the end of the zipper are pulled down on the inside to keep water from getting inside.